Silver bells, silver bells, soon it will be Christmas Day. Hello, everyone. And you know what? I don't care if that woman killed her husband. It's Christmas. I don't care. I don't care. It's Christmas. And I'm forgiving everyone. And I'm happy to be here with all of you because we're about to start a new year. And it's a time for hope. And we don't want to get mired in the past. We want to go forward to the future. And this turning point kind of abomination that the right wing of this country has turned into like a bad reality show. And it's all of the fault of everyone, by the way. It's the fault of everyone speaking and everyone attending. And there's nobody that gets everything about this is weird and uncomfortable for everyone. And I'm not saying she killed her husband or knew about it or whatever. I'm saying the guy got shot 3 months ago and she walks out to a pyrotechnic display and then she goes, we're going to elect J.D. Vance. It's weird that that's where her head is at. It's difficult for many people to relate to. It's not relatable for people that talked about how Hollywood isn't relatable and Hollywood is out of touch. This looks a lot like Hollywood to most people. And to go out through a stream of fireworks and sparklers and stand there in a glittering pantsuit and talk about electing J.D. Vance 3 months after your husband was killed, many people feel that there is something off about that. And we're starting to see that political people are the exact same thing as the Hollywood elites that they all love to dunk on. And we all look at this. This is Megan Thee Stallion twerking at the Kamala rally. This is deeply unsettling to a lot of people. It feels like you're being played. You feel it. It seems off. You feel like this is a coordinated and choreographed spectacle so that you are played. They want your money. That's what they got mad at Candace about. They're like, why are you telling people not to give us money? She's also saying you killed the guy. Why are you mad about the money? They're just mad that they're not getting money. They want your money. And they want to be celebrities. You know, and okay, some of them are. But it just feels odd. This is everything they hate, that they don't like, that they're not about. They're not about this stuff. They believe in the sacred family and tradition and blah, 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 blah. And the women are in the house with the kids and what? What part of the traditionalism is the pyrotechnics and the fireworks? And it feels really weird. I mean, let's take a listen here to her. Yeah, I just, and the woman's been through a lot. And I know that, people are going to accuse me of being insensitive. But she feels like she's handling this death better than anyone I've ever seen. And by the way, kudos to her strength. I've never seen a human being bounce back like this. Talk about a bounce back. I've never in my life. I know people that have lost cats and dogs who couldn't do this in the time frame that she has done it. I give her flowers. Okay? Like, God bless, you are killing it. It just feels to people, again, I have no investment in shitting on the woman. I don't care. I don't agree with a lot of these people. This organization means nothing to me. I don't think it's a evil thing or a good thing. I'm looking at this like a reality show that has gone off the rails. A reality show where one of the producers of a reality show, because that's the way reality shows work. There are producers who get the women drunk, put them in a restaurant, and go fight. And we got to film it. And the producers are the ones on the reality show that arrange the storyline of what you're gonna hear and see. One of those producers here needs to whisper in somebody's ear, hey, I don't know what this storyline is, but we think there's a high likelihood that this is going to turn a lot of people off, that a lot of people are going to see this, the constant begging for the money, the constant J.D. Vance of it all. We're going to elect J.D. Vance. The election's 3 years away. There's something deeply unsettling about this spectacle. It makes Mamdani and AOC look great. The far left in this country, the Graham Plattners, they've been, and again, a lot of their policies I wouldn't love, but they seem mature and dignified. Truly. Because this has become like a weird quasi-religious undertaking that involves glittering sequin gowns and appeals for more and more money. And it feels righteous gemstones. It's righteous gemstones coded a little bit. I don't get it. I don't know what this was supposed to be. Maybe this is what it's supposed to be. Can we listen to a little bit of friend of the show, Erika Kirk here at Turning Point USA? Let's play. Do we have the clip where she's talking about Vance? Let's play that.
We're going to ensure that President Trump has Congress for all 4 years. We are going to get my husband's friend, J.D. Vance, elected for 48 and the most resounding way possible.
Yeah, I just feel I cannot describe to you how if you were a normal human being, this gives you pause. Your spidey senses go off. You feel odd. If you're a normal human being, you look at this and you go 90 days after this guy tragically gets assassinated, this has become a very, very grotesque display of the quest for raw power led by his widow. It's odd to a lot of people. It's odd. There were things about it that were, I'm sure nice. I'm sure they did a memorial. I don't know, whatever. But this politicizing of her, I'm the CEO, I'm carrying his message, that leaves a lot of people feeling odd. And fine, whatever. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that love it. There's a lot of people that love it. But every speech that I watched, I only watched a few, was a speech that, and I watched Shapiro and Tucker, this is descending into a movement about personalities, about people, not really about ideas. It's kind of become about people, and it's kind of become boring. And it's not to say that there aren't like important issues at stake. But it feels weird when you're watching it that all of these people have personal grudges and they're airing out, things. Listen, there are people that I don't get along with that may not like me. And it's not even that I don't get along with them. They just may view me in a negative light because they have an impression of me that is negative. And I may feel the same way about other people. The minute you start engaging in this kind of back and forth and banter, it feels very small. The thing kind of degenerates into a very small, petty, and even the Trump stuff, it's not as fun. It used to be very fun. Now it's dark. The Rob Reiner stuff, it gets dark. I was at a party in Silver Lake, the east side of LA, where the artsy people live. And there were people there that probably don't love me. But I was there for a friend's special release party, and everyone there was really, really cool. And maybe some of them didn't like me. And I have no problem with any of them. I'm judging based on, an idea that some of the people there may have hated my guts, but I don't know. But did, probably. But it was a lovely event because nobody really talked about anything that would be controversial. Nothing came up. It was very, and I don't care if people leave and hate me or, I leave and hate them. And I don't think anyone's really hating anyone. But I think like maybe there are people there that are like, I don't know about that guy. And that's fair. But we didn't get into it on any level, nor would we ever, because, I feel like there's nothing to be gained from that. Especially if you can look at somebody who you disagree with in some real profound ways, but say we're both rich and successful. And many of the people at this party they're not. And even though you may not love some of my ideas and I don't love some of your ideas, I respect the fact that you are rich and successful. And I just want that respect from you as well. And I got it. It's actually lovely. And we can have a very fake, superficial, good time at this party because that's what life's about. That is what life is about. It's not about getting to the bottom of it. Lies. It's not about burying a hatchet. What hatchet? What? It's not about mutual understanding, and it certainly ain't about mutual respect. It ain't about any of that. What it's about is a surface level acknowledgement that we can simulate. This is a simulation. And in this simulation, at this moment, we're friendly, and we are. And no matter what happens, you leave and you could go on social media and go, that fascist pig, it's okay. It's okay because when it mattered, we both showed up. And whoever it is, whoever these people in the world are that you have issues with, you can show up to be a fake version of yourself. You can be a hollow version of yourself. You can come and make small talk and build on that. You can build on nothing and build more nothing until you have castles of nothing. And that's where we can all live, in castles of nothing. Why would we argue about anything? We can just, we're human beings. People are human beings. Okay? That's my point. I was at this party and I was like, Harvey, I keep saying, I don't know why I'm saying this. And I keep saying Rob Reiner, but instead I'm saying Harvey Weinstein just because it's LA and it's like such a bad, At the party, we found out that Rob Reiner was killed by his son, a tragic event. We've all wanted to kill our parents. We don't do it. You don't do it, okay? It's the holidays. Now, you realize in that moment when he is killed by his son, you realize that life is short. Not for him, he lived a long life. But you realize that life is precious. Why argue about nonsense? He was at Conan O'Brien's party having an argument with his parents the night before. When you hear that, you realize Conan O'Brien at a party you weren't invited to. That's what I realized. And I thought about that. And people said it's horrible that that man lost his life. And I said, where was that party? And they said, it was horrible. He stabbed his mother and his father. And I said, is it in the Palisades house? Because he still has that house that didn't burn down. And they went, well, the kid had been schizophrenic his whole life. He's been in and out of rehab. And it was like a really big, and I go, who gets to go to that? Is it like people he handpicks or? That's what's important. Do you know how much better this episode would have been if I was at the Conan O'Brien Christmas party? Do you know how much more worthwhile this whole thing would have been had I been a witness to that? But I was not invited. I was not invited because there's an idea in this town that I'm not a team player, simply because I have trashed people publicly and privately, and the directors of huge film franchises and agents and managers and business managers and my colleagues, other actors, politicians, members of the judiciary, my family, personal friends. Because of that, I am blacklisted from events that I would be fucking great at. So I'm forced to be in a Silver Lake backyard, okay, making peace with whatever, like people, instead of being, okay, Emmy winners, a few, one or two, total respect, shows I like and watch. But I'm not at other things that I should be at. I literally should be invited to every party in this town. And when you hear that somebody was stabbed to death by their child in their house, and before that, they were at a huge party that you weren't invited to, the first instinct you have is why? Why? Why was I not invited? Why? I've said nothing negative about Conan. I love him. I love Irish people. He's brilliant. Whatever. So many people ask me, what is the perfect holiday gift? And I tell them all the time, I say, go to Aura Frames, folks. It's a digital frame, unlimited photos you can upload and video, preload photos before it ships. It's a last minute, if you're a last minute shopper. You know the feeling, shelves are empty and ideas are running low. Aura Frames is a solution with a gift that feels personal. There's a gift box included. You can share photos and videos effortlessly, personalize your gift, add a message before it arrives. My aunt and uncle were killed in a plane crash. He was a hobbyist pilot, and they were killed in a plane crash. And the photo of that burning jet I gave to my little cousin in an Aura frame. And even though it seems like it's insensitive, she loves it because it reminds her of her parents. Get the frame. For limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames. Named #1 by Wirecutter. Use promo code TIM at checkout. That's AURAFrames.com, promo code TIM. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast. So order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. You hear the news. This man, this legend of comedy, Rob Reiner, and his wife, Michelle, tragically meeting their end. And, you know, you think, I never met him. I was never invited to his home. There's so many people I have not met that I deserve to meet. And that's what you really start to think about. You start to think about the people you haven't met, the parties you haven't been to, the things you haven't done. That's what the holidays are about, the real stuff. And the fake, superficial, but lovely chats you could have with many people that have a myriad of views, and they don't have to agree with you. You're at a party and they're at a party. You know, that's the whole thing. And if this guy, and can I say something now? Can I just say a thing because I have this platform and it's all I have because I've been robbed of everything else. They've taken everything else from me. But can I say one thing? And I'm not throwing shade at anyone at that party. I'm certainly not throwing shade at Conan. I'm not throwing shade at any of these people. I think Bill Hader is a genius. I love Barry. People took a photo of him. I don't even know why. Can I say one thing? Am I allowed on my own platform to say one thing? Had I been at that party and had I spoken to Nick Reiner, Rob Reiner's alive. He is. No, he is. So I'm not trying to guilt anyone. I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad. But if I was at the Conan party, not even invited, if I was at the Conan party and I could have grabbed Nick Reiner and took him outside and given him a Marlboro Light and chatted with him, he was probably a fan of this show or other shows I've done, and Nick Reiner, medication for schizophrenia. Yeah, definitely watches this show. Definitely a podcast fan. I would have been able to convince him with my charm, with my wit, with my personality. I'm quick on my feet. I would have been able to say, hey, don't do this. Hey, don't do it. So I'm just saying, the people that don't invite me have blood on their hands. Okay? And I don't mean to say, I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm actually not. It sounds like I am. I'm not trying, but if you have not invited me to a party in LA and a schizophrenic, my mother's a schizophrenic, I actually know how to handle them. I know how to handle them. First of all, the first thing you say to a schizophrenic is, you're right. You don't argue with them. When I read they were arguing with this schizo at Conan's fucking house, which I believe is actually beautiful, I wouldn't know. They're arguing with this schizo. You don't fight with a schizo. When my mother said something, I went, you're right, hon. Lock her up. You don't argue with a schizophrenic. You put them in a home. Now, So I don't know what the fight was about. I don't know what it was over. I don't know if it was political or whatever the case would be. Can you show the picture of Rob and the son? Because the son, no, not that one. You know the one everyone's sharing where you can see that the son has some problems. And by the way, it's a tragic thing that happened. And it didn't have to happen. Had I been there, it wouldn't have happened. I mean, I don't know what to say. I know people don't want to hear that. They're going to be upset. This is going to be another thing. I won't get invited to another thing. Did you hear what he said? He said he would have saved Rob Reiner. Well, I would have. I know how to deal with schizophrenics, especially in a mansion. My mother was living in a bungalow, and we dealt with her. I would know how to deal with a schizophrenic in a mansion. That's actually what I'm designed for. Can you imagine me and a schizophrenic in a large kitchen? It would work. He would leave that house and he would go, that's a great guy I met, and I'm not killing anyone. But instead, we had the other thing. I don't know. It's not that one. It's another one. But you can edit that one in or whatever. It doesn't matter. The guy had problems. The guy had drug issues. I don't pretend to know. Play this a little bit, please.
Out front now, Alan Horn. He's a longtime friend of Rob Reiner. They were dear friends for over 50 years. They co-founded Castle Rock Entertainment together. Alan's currently a consultant for Warner Brothers Discovery, parent company, of course, of CNN. And Alan, I am really, it's hard to even find words to say, sorry for this shocking.
By the way, can you stop that? This is a pet peeve of mine. What do you mean it's hard to find words? You work at CNN. Your literal only job is to find words. No one is asking you to do anything else except find words. Just find the words. Say, I'm sorry for your loss. That's what you say. They all do this. I can't even find the words. Here they are. I'm sorry for your loss. Those are the words. And why was Tim Dillon not in the party to diffuse the situation? And then that guy would go, who the hell is that? And then she would go, you're part of the problem. There's a generational problem here in media and entertainment, okay? By the way, the podcast awards, they don't nominate Rogan or Theo or Matt and Shane or Cumtown. I mean, they should even posthumously, it's not around anymore, but they don't nominate the Tim Dillon show. They don't nominate Bad Friends. They don't nominate any of these shows, Flagrant, whatever. They don't nominate any of these things. They nominate none of those shows. Yet those shows are the most powerful shows in the world, supposedly, and elected the president, but none of them got nominated. That category has no credibility. And I like some of the people in that category, Amy Poehler, Smartless, whatever, but you have zero credibility if you're not nominating a few of the shows that I talked about. Not even mine. You don't have to nominate mine. Let's hear this, please.
This is your dear friend, one of your dearest friends. And, for anyone watching, I mean, this is a man that is with you on the day your daughter was born. On the day, yes. Your daughter, Cody. Rob described you as like a big brother to him. How do you even process the fact that this has just happened?
Well, Aaron, first of all...
Are they going to get to the thing? Yeah, we can't watch 5 minutes. Are we going to get to the spot where Bill Hader tried to get him kicked out of the party or something based on what he said? The couple's youngest son attended the comedian's party on Saturday with Rob, 78, and Michelle, 68. He was brought to the party so that his parents could keep an eye on him, sources told Rolling Stone. While there, however, Nick interrupted comedian Bill Hader with a series of unsettling questions, according to the Wall Street Journal. Nick allegedly asked Hader and several other guests the same set of questions. What's your name? What's your last name? Are you famous? By the way, fair. Nick allegedly asked Hader and several other guests the same set of questions. What's your name? What's your last name? Are you famous? I thought he was threatening to kill his parents at the party. Are these people angry that he questioned their fame? Maybe they were standing there and he's like, are you famous? And they're like, what are you, a schizophrenic? I'm very famous. Rob and his son got into a heated argument during the party, with one guest alleging that Rob told his son that his behavior was inappropriate. Another guest told the New York Times that Nick seemed anxious and uncomfortable through the night in a way that deeply unsettled them. A guest similarly revealed to people Nick was freaking everyone out, acting crazy, kept asking people if they were famous. Nick eventually was asked to leave, and the bodies were found less than 24 hours. It's sad. This is tough. I get it. This is a tragic thing. Titan of comedy, horrible, not good. I should have been at the party. I would have been able to help. Again, I don't want to make it about me. I don't want it to be like, oh, it's about me. Not about me. I was at another lesser event in Silver Lake. God help me. Lovely people. Okay, I was at this party. And it was lovely, and they had latkes, and it was a Hanukkah thing, and there was comedy special, and it was lovely. It was nice. It was a rental in Silver Lake, where I was, at a rental, while there was someone who needed care. Someone who needed care in the Palisades, and I could have been there to help, but I was not. Something to think about in the future, but whatever. The Barry Weiss town hall with Erika Kirk flopped, unfortunately. It didn't do well. And then Barry's now pursuing J.D. Vance for a town hall. That's going to be a barn burner. And then Elon Musk. Those are the two names she wants. It's not good. It wasn't good. It was very boring. The town hall was very boring. It was just not fun. It was like terrible. Barry, honey, lovey-dove, get off the air. Get into the back room. Get off the air. Nobody wants your pout. She pouts, Barry. She has a pout. It is not what people want when they turn on the tube, is to see your pout. It's not, it's like a disappointed mom energy. We don't want it. Off. Does it work? So that flopped. The Epstein files, they said they were going to come out. They're not coming out, or they're coming out, but they're heavily redacted. 500 pages in the Epstein files were entirely blacked out. It's very obvious to everyone that Jeffrey Epstein was an intelligence agent that was working on behalf of Israel and the United States to a degree. But this is why the files are not coming out. It's not because Trump is protecting billionaire friends that he's never cared about. He's not falling on the sword for his friends. That's not the Trump we know and love. The Trump we know and love is throwing people in front of a car so that he doesn't get hit. That's why people in this country elected him. That's the character of an American. The character of an American is someone who throws their wife in front of a fire to give themselves another few minutes to get out of the house. That's because America is about survival. It's about survival. It's not an emotional country. Like, we're all psychotic, but it's not an like when people call me a nihilistic sociopath, like they do all the time in the press, I'm simply telling people what it is, and no one wants to hear it. So they get all angry. The idea that this is like a deeply spiritual country of loving people, it's like psychotic to believe that. Can you imagine believing that? That this country is full of heroic people, heroes just walking around every day, giving of themselves for their communities and families. That you couldn't convince someone of that. You couldn't convince Nick Reiner of that on whatever the hell he was on. So this idea that Donald Trump is falling on a sword for other billionaires that he doesn't want to be that he doesn't want them to be seen in a bad light doesn't make any sense. Let's throw that explanation out. Okay? Explanation number 2, the Kash Patel explanation. There's nothing there. There's thousands of pages of documents that have been redacted by the CIA and the FBI, but none of them say anything because nothing even happened. Remember, that was how this all started. Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, the Keystone Cops, were like, this thing's not even real. So, like, what? It's a hoax. It's fake. It's been grossly exaggerated, and none of it. He was a pervert and a freak, but there was no accomplices. He didn't do anything. They said that. There were no accomplices. There's 15 pictures out right now of Bill Clinton, Michael Jackson, and this guy windsurfing or whatever. And apparently this guy, nothing was ever happening or going on because this was just like a weird rich guy, a weird pervert. And, by the way, it's funny you see these photos. This is the only time you've ever seen any of these people having fun. So that was explanation number 2, why they're not coming out. Explanation number 3, which I find more plausible because I have gotten rid of explanation 1 and 2. And to review, explanation 1, Donald Trump feels really bad for like other people and wants to protect their image. That was explanation number 1, that like Donald Trump is like hung up on the idea that like a buddy or two of his might go down here. And he's like, that like bums him out. So he's like going to fall on the sword and, basically like take the heat for other people in an act of selflessness. He was going to throw himself in front of the bus because other people might be inconvenienced by this, to say the least. Explanation number 2, none of this ever happened. None of these people ever did anything wrong. There was no trafficking ring. There were no accomplices. Nothing even happened. Now, that was explanation 2 given to you by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. That was their response. Remember, that was option 2, given to you by who? Your aunt? No, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Now, option 3, a reason that many people don't think it's coming out, is because Jeffrey Epstein was working on behalf of intelligence agencies in Israel, America. Maybe he was working with the Brits, maybe the French, maybe he got around. And what he was doing was he was a conduit between powerful people, people that were current government officials, former government officials, corporate leaders, whatever. The jet set, as they call them. And Jeffrey Epstein was finding ways for all of these people to make money whilst blackmailing them and videotaping their liaisons with underage people, their illegal, immoral, disgusting, evil acts, and then keeping the tapes or selling them to the highest bidder or using them as leverage or whatever the case may be. But that would require, option 3 would require like a pretty like big public fallout when and if that information became public, that our own government or an allied government was blackmailing people. And when I say our government, I mean factions. I don't mean everybody. I don't mean your aunt who's the comptroller in New Jersey. I mean, deeply powerful factions of our intelligence community blackmailing congressmen, senators, presidents, prime ministers. Okay? Morgan & Morgan's a law firm. Did you slip on the butter that was left out? You're eating French fries at the beach and you want to take a quick dip in the ocean. You put a seagull on watch. That's not security. It's catering for the seagull. I've read that so many times. I have no idea what that means. There's a reason you wouldn't trust a seagull with your fries, just like there's a reason you wouldn't trust insurance companies with your case. Oh, I get it now. Because when people show up, whether it's for help or answers or justice, they deserve somebody who's actually on their side. Hire Morgan & Morgan. I love these guys. They've been working for over 35 years, 1,000 lawyers, 100 offices nationwide. Hiring Morgan & Morgan is like hiring an army that has your back. If you're injured by somebody else's negligence, you deserve to be paid. And here's the truth. Not all law firms are the same. Hire the wrong one and you may be beat before you even start. If you're ever injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Here's my favorite thing about Morgan & Morgan. Their fees free unless they win. For more information, go to forthepeople.com/Tim. That's forthepeople.com/TIM. This is a paid advertisement. I cannot get enough of Neuro Gum. Ever feel like you're running on empty, staring at your screen, hitting that afternoon crash, and debating another coffee or energy drink? Enter Neuro Gum and Mints. Neuro's energy and focus gum and mints give you clean, focused energy without the crash sugar or sketchy ingredients. It's time to switch to good energy. It's the easiest upgrade I made to my wellness and energy routine. Here's what I made the energy switch. Personal story. This is a personal story of mine. I took the gum because I wanted more energy, and it's been great. Neuro also offers caffeine-free options for your all-day wellness support. Neuro's memory and focus gum are made with American ginseng, not that foreign ginseng. American ginseng to support mental clarity minus the jitters. Neuro sleep and recharge mints offer melatonin and chamomile to help you unwind and rest without the pills or the sugary gummies. For limited time, you can get 20% off your first order at neurogum.com. Use promo code TIM. That's neurogum.com and use code TIM for 20% off your first order. You can also find Neuro at CVS and Amazon. So that seems to be option 3 of why it hasn't come out. Like, for example, you don't really have to know much about anything to know right now that it seems very likely, and I've talked to smart people who believe that there's kind of a civil war within our intelligence community in America. One faction of our, and by the way, there's multiple factions in the intelligence community. It's not like one and then another and then that's it. But I'm going to talk about one of the divides that I have talked to smart people about. One of the divides is between a group of people in the intelligence community who believe we should get out of the Middle East. We should not support Israel in attacking Iran. We should divest from Russia and Ukraine, and we should prepare to fight China. There are people in the national security establishment who believe that. This guy Briggs Colby, who you could bring him up. I want to say he works at the Department of Defense. I don't exactly know the position offhand. He's one of the people whom advocates that point of view, that we need to position ourselves for a, potentially inevitable conflict on some level with China. And that getting bogged down with Russia or the Middle East, these kind of endless foreign wars, regime change wars. You'd also put like Tulsi Gabbard in that group, even though I'm disappointed with Tulsi about a lot of shit. Not that I don't like Tulsi Gabbard or that I don't think she's good at Tough Mudders, and I like people from Hawaii or whatever, whatever she does. I like that. But I'm a little disappointed by the fact that, I don't know. They gaslit people, and they continue to do so. When she came out and was like, yeah, well, these people are doing this. Say their names. What are you, like, what are we, stupid? There's something going on because Joe Kent came out and asked Kash Patel, I want to look into potential foreign intelligence in the Kirk assassination. And Kash Patel's like, fuck you. You're not getting any of these files. And so you have Tulsi Gabbard and Joe Kent kind of on one side of this, going, I want to look at foreign intelligence, whatever happened or didn't happen. We just want to see the files. Kash Patel's like, it's an ongoing investigation. You cannot see the files, and fuck you. So right there is a public rift of that war that I'm talking about, that kind of, underground conflict between factions in our intelligence community. You have the FBI, you have Kash Patel, you have the Bureau going, don't compromise our investigation. You have Joe Kent going, we want to know about what happened with the oversight here. So here is this Colby, Pentagon policy chief's rogue decisions have irked U.S. allies in the Trump administration. This is a Politico hit piece, right? So this is a political hit piece, okay? And this was written in July, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So this is a faction of people. And this guy is, again, not like the highest level guy, but he's pretty high level. And does it say exactly what his position is?
I think there's a part here about his position on Ukraine.
No, his position in the Defense Department.
Oh. I think he might be like the undersecretary.
Yeah, he might be undersecretary. I believe that's what he is. Since joining the second Trump administration as the Pentagon's top policy chief. Okay. So that's a faction. Okay. That's clearly not the only faction. There's another faction that wants more interventions, that believes that the power vacuum in the Middle East gets filled by China and Russia. And that faction of people is more aligned with neoconservative people in those departments. And they want Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio. And the Colby faction wants J.D. Vance. And the Tucker faction, Colby, not that Tucker's the CIA, but Tucker clearly has a preference for Vance and for that foreign policy position prevailing, that we should not be embroiled in the Middle East. Although he does like Qatar, he doesn't, because we're not fighting wars. He would say we're not fighting wars on behalf of Qatar. Those are factions. Get up the Joe Kent stuff with Tulsi and Kash Patel. These are different factions that are fighting for control of whatever comes after Trump. And this is kind of it's a conflict that smart people know about. And I'm not saying if you know about it, if you don't know about it, you're not smart. I'm just saying, like, whatever. You're not reading, you have a life, right? So you're like, have a family and a job. So you're not reading all this crap that I read and you're talking to these crazy people. It's all I do all day is talk to crazy people. They're interesting to a degree, but they're insane. And, they have very interesting positions all over, in media and government or whatever. And they're interesting and they're nuts and they believe X or Y or Z. And you really don't know who's who or who works for who or why anyone believes anything and who's getting paid and whatever. It's an odd world. But these are the factions that are lining up. And it's all about control of money and control of power and who gets their friends in, who gets their people in, who's able to go in with their crew and staff all of these agencies and try, because again, these agencies are not always going to be responsive to the incoming administration. And they've been trying to fire that guy forever, by the way. A lot of people want that guy fired. That's why Politico wrote that hit piece. He tried to, stop arms shipments to Ukraine. His position on this stuff's kind of known. But a lot of people don't want that guy in. Counterterrorism nominee Joe Kent under scrutiny as emails show he pushed for edits to intelligence assessment. Okay, this is not, but here, just to show you who he is. Emails obtained by CBS News show Joe Kent, who currently serves to the chief of staff to director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. So that's what he does, okay? He is the chief of staff to director Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, whatever. It's kind of a fake job. They're trying to do the best that they can, I guess, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. But he asked Kash Patel to see the files that they had on the Charlie Kirk case. And the request was flat out denied. They're like, no, we're not going to show you what we have. It's an ongoing investigation. Now, I don't know why it's ongoing. I thought they got the guy, and I don't know why he's I don't know why anyone's talking about foreign intelligence with this assassination. Again, I'm confused. So, but that's, again, just an example of, officials' access to FBI files in Charlie Kirk case drew pushback. An inquiry by Joe Kent, who leads the National Counterterrorism Center, is said to have alarmed Kash Patel, the FBI director. They don't want him poking around. This is not completely unprecedented and rare. The FBI does not like that there are other agencies that have oversight. The inquiry by Joe Kent, the director of the Counterterrorism Center, alarmed Kash Patel, the director of the FBI. Mr. Patel and other senior officials believe Mr. Kent was overstepping, treading on FBI responsibilities, and potentially interfering with the investigation and prosecution of Tyler Robinson. But supporters of Mr. Kent say he was doing his job running down leads and making sure no foreign or domestic groups were linked to Mr. Kirk's death. So you see the little schisms happening. We had a very weird shooting at MIT, a weird shooting at Brown, horrible shooting at Brown, horrible that anyone loses their life ever in a horrible way like that. A young woman, 2 people at Brown.
Yeah, 2 people.
2 people at Brown. And then a nuclear fusion scientist, something like that, right?
Yes, from MIT.
From MIT. And the same guy killed all of them and then killed himself in a storage shed. Let's listen to a little bit of this. Again, this is probably something that will disappear from the news in a day. And no one will ever know what happened. But it's fucking weird. It's a little weird that a guy walked onto the campus of Brown, shot these 2 people, and then shot a guy from MIT, and they killed himself in a storage shed. Let's hear a little bit of this.
2 shootings at 2 major schools in the Northeast, and police now say they could be connected. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kira Phillips. We begin with that breaking news. Multiple sources briefed on the investigation, telling ABC News the mass shooting at Brown University and the murder of an MIT professor in Massachusetts may be linked. Let's bring in our Christian Cordero there on the scene in Providence, Rhode Island. Also our chief investigative correspondent, Erika Kirk, plus our contributor and former NYPD chief of detectives, Robert Boyce. So, Aaron, what do we know now?
Law enforcement sources tell ABC News, Kira, that the shooting at Brown University that killed 2 students may, in fact, be connected to the shooting death, the apparent murder of MIT professor Nuno Lolero, who was shot and killed in the foyer of his Brookline home on Monday night, pronounced dead on Tuesday morning at the hospital. At first, the FBI said there was no known connection, but in the last 24 hours, sources told ABC News that the investigative teams on both the cases began to compare notes, and information started to gel that the 2 shooting incidents may in fact be connected. The authorities have not said this publicly, but this is what we're hearing now from multiple law enforcement sources. We also understand that authorities may be close to naming a suspect.
So we have the suspect.
Yeah.
We have the guy that did this. He's dead, and he killed himself in his storage shed. What's his name? I don't know why nothing seems to make sense anymore, and I don't want to sound like a nut, and I'm not saying and alleging that everything's a lie all the time, but it is just odd that, like, crimes used to have motives. You know, when I grew up, crimes had motives. Like, somebody would do something and there would be a tangible reason as to why that person did it. And the news media would doggedly try to find out why the person did the crime. And now that's kind of less of a thing. Now it's like Clue. It's like a weird thing of Clue where they're like, he killed someone in the meat locker with the hair dryer. And you go, okay. And he's like, well, he shot somebody in the frozen foods aisle with, the bazooka. And you go, oh, okay, but why? Well, we don't know. Right. Well, he had a samurai sword and he was in the phone booth and he cut the guy's head off. But nobody really knows why. A Reddit post from a homeless man at Brown University helped investigators find the mass shooter. Well, thank God. Thank God that, by the way, this is Kash Patel's FBI. It is now come down to a Reddit post from a homeless person. So if you're killed in this country, you better hope that a vagrant tweets about it so that Kash Patel can find out. You hope they tweet at FBI director, at Kash, I just killed someone. Literally, Reddit pages where homeless people post are the only people doing any investigations in this country. Them and Candace Owens. Let's watch this.
This was just them like searching for the snow for footprints.
Oh, good. Look at this. Look at the FBI searching for footprints in the snow. This is the biggest joke. I mean, they're doing a dance. These people are doing a dance. They're doing a ceremonial dance because they just did a human sacrifice. Who was the guy that got shot at MIT? Who was that guy?
His name is Nuno.
And what did he do? He was a scientist, right?
He was a nuclear fusion researcher.
He was a nuclear fusion scientist. And now Trump just signed a deal with a fusion company, like today.
Yeah.
And there was a guy on the board of that company, I think, who knew this guy. Why is Truth Social owner merging with why is Truth Social owner Trump Media merging with a fusion energy firm? So on a day after this guy gets whacked, Trump Media and Technology Group, owner of Donald Trump's Truth Social media platform, announced a merger on Wednesday with a company developing fusion energy technology. Interesting. Fun. And this guy who was a fusion scientist gets whacked the day before. Again, I'm not saying there's anything there. It's just fun to note. Who is the suspect? Go back to that. So a Reddit thread posted by a homeless guy. You don't think of the homeless on Reddit, but I imagine many of them are. Let's read this here. Is there, yeah. Police are probably going to sift through a lot more Reddit posts in the future. One of those online posts played a big role in helping investigators find the suspect who killed two students in Brown. Remember, Kash Patel, they said they had the guy, they used geolocation, that whatever, they traced his phone, and then they had to let him go. This is what they do over there at the FBI. They find someone, and then they announce to the public, they're like, we've used geolocation to find and then they have to let them go. Great. The 48-year-old suspect, Claudio Neves Valente, was found dead in a New Hampshire storage facility Thursday night. Authorities say he killed Brown University students, Mohammed Aziz Umerkazov and Ella Cook, and then murdered MIT professor Nuno Louriero. It took investigators a long time to ID the suspect after the mass shooting Saturday night in Providence, followed by the assassination of the professor Monday night. Then on Tuesday, authorities received a tip from an anonymous source about a Reddit post on the Providence subreddit, according to the affidavit. The Reddit poster, a homeless man, claimed that he saw the suspected shooter walking in the area of the Brown University mass shooting. Quote, "I'm being dead serious," reads the Reddit post. The police need to look into a gray Nissan with Florida plates, possibly a rental. That was the car he was driving. So Kash Patel and the FBI are now relying on the homeless to solve the crimes. No. Folks, they're relying on the homeless. The reason the Epstein list isn't out is because the homeless haven't gotten involved. This is why Kash Patel didn't realize that there was a human trafficking ring that Epstein was running, because a homeless guy hadn't posted about it on Reddit. The Federal Bureau of Investigation is now depending on the homeless in the country. Up until that point in the investigation, police had not released any videos with a gray Nissan or vehicle with Florida plates. Based on the tip, so basically the homeless are doing a better job than Kash Patel's FBI. And Kash Patel, by the way, while this is all happening, is on a podcast with his girlfriend. He's on a podcast with his girlfriend. Okay? Dan Bongino just left the FBI to come back to podcasting. Welcome back, brother. Who predicted that a year ago? The guy that didn't get invited to Conan's party, that guy. Bongino's coming back to a place where he can make a goddamn difference. The desk. Come back to the podcast world. We can make change here. It's not like the fucking feds. Can we watch a little bit of this abortion? Can you? This is the director, folks. This is the. I'm going to campaign for AOC. I will campaign for Mom Donnie. I am putting the burqa on. This is the campaign. I'm sorry. This is the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. This girl in Brown University was shot in her face and tragically lost her life. And I'm not even kidding anymore. She tragically lost her life. She was shot in the head, okay? This fool with his girlfriend is on a fucking podcast. Katie Miller, Stephen Miller's wife. This isn't even a high-rated podcast. This isn't even a big one, okay? This isn't even a big fucking this ain't Call Her Daddy. This is some dumb shit. This is not even worth it. They don't even get good views. Let's watch a little bit of this. Disgusting.
On a personal level, of course, I wish we didn't have to deal with the attacks. Like, she should be out there touring, and
she should be out there touring. Call AOC. I'm giving her money. I swear to God. And I was never even, listen, I was never a huge fan of this guy because I didn't know much about him. And it felt weird. It all felt weird. And now it's fucking insane. But I am donating money to, it's just, it's good for my show, and it's good for the podcast world, which is why Dan Bongino, I think, is coming back to us. Because truly that's what this is good for, is like, it's fodder, but what an embarrassment for the country. She should be out touring. We don't like the attacks. She should be out touring. There's a girl at Brown University that's shot in the face. Fire him. Fire him. Are you people fucking nuts? You're up at Turning Point USA, arguing with each other, calling each other fucking feds or whatever, and this guy who's a legitimate fed is saying his girlfriend should be touring while someone got shot in the face, and they don't have the person who did it, and he's deciding to go on a podcast. It's a bad reality show. It's fucking terrible. Here, let's go.
Stage, as she always has been, and she shouldn't have to deal
Weird
with
set
the
as well. Not a good set. Keep going. Sorry.
collateral consequence of just being the FBI director's girlfriend. But I think with the hypersensitive nature of the media, especially the social media space, people come at you because it takes me back to like when I first did an investigation.
And he has red, white, and blue socks on. Call Hassan Piker. Go just donate us. Just give Hassan Piker a super chat right now. Call those that retarded Withers, whatever his name is, those fucking twinks from Colorado that live in a mountain that keep screaming. Okay, maybe we won't go that far, but I'm just saying this. It's just absurd. Anyway, get them out of here. I can't even listen. Can't even listen to them. Let me tell you something, and you need to hear it. We live in a world that is designed to steal from you. It's designed to leave you exposed. And the greatest scam of all, the data brokers. These people are selling your life, your credit score, and pictures of your grotesque family to the highest bidder. We all talk about how every move we make leaves a trail, a text, pathetic post. Every time you buy a coffee, nothing disappears. And that's the problem. After seeing what these scammers and identity thieves are doing with stolen data, it genuinely hit me. We're all walking targets. You know, you read the news, and every week there's another big company being hit by a data breach. You think, well, I never did business with them. But somehow your personal information has been leaked by the data anyway. How does this happen? Because these data brokers sold it to them. Your data is being passed around like a cheap whore at a finance bro party. Incogni stops that transaction. I had a situation recently, and this is a true story, where somebody was trying to open a bunch of credit accounts in my name. They had my old address, my phone number, even the name of my dog, which is confidential. This information was out there, sold by some loser data broker for $5. Criminals can open credit accounts, file tax returns, and even commit crimes in your name just by buying up these pathetic little spreadsheets of your life. It's disgusting. That's why you need to realize that Incogni isn't just about deleting your data from a few lists. It's about removing yourself from the internet, vanishing from the digital grid before it collapses and takes your identity with it. That's why I use Incogni, and you should too. Incogni reaches out to these companies and tells them to delete your information. You give them permission once, and they relentlessly handle the rest. Incogni works in the background and silently removes your information. And now, it's 3 a.m. And now they've launched this feature. It's brilliant. It's a total game changer, and it's what you need if you have a stalker, an ex, somebody who just hates your guts. I'm talking about Incogni's new custom removal feature, available in the unlimited and family unlimited plans. This is huge. If you see your private information, maybe your actual home address, phone number floating around on a specific scummy site, you can flag it, and Incogni will go after it directly. This is the kind of protection you need when the world is full of psychopaths and losers that want to ruin your life. Criminals can be exposed by personal information, scams, stalking, harassment, and other illegal activities. This feature is basically a digital security guard. You know, you read the news, blah, blah, blah. If you want to protect your privacy and take your information off the market before they use it, bankrupt you, and ruin your reputation, go to Incogni.com and use code Tim Dillon for 60% off their annual plan. That's https://incogni, Incogni.com, code Tim Dillon, 60% off. Honestly, one of the best investments you can ever make for your own peace of mind. Otherwise, you spend months or years repairing the financial and reputational damage left by these pathetic criminals. Your personal data should not be public property. Erase yourself from the internet with Incogni. Folks, I cannot say enough good things about Ethos. Talk about an experience you or a loved one had that taught you about the importance of life insurance. Well, I'd be glad to. My cousin Frankie Felix, that's his name. He was like, I don't need life insurance. I'm going to live forever. Well, guess what happened to Frankie Felix? Guess what happened to him? Okay? He was at a carnival with his children. He wanted to take them to a local car. Oh, it's all fun and games, is it? Frankie Felix and his children. Well, he took them to a carnival, okay? And he was standing too close to we used to call it the salt and pepper shaker. It would go up and down. It was a ride. And he was decapitated in front of his children. Okay? His head was not clear off his body in front of his children. It was still, his head was on the ground and landed head up like Final Destination with an expression on it. He was like, "Rawr." Now, these children were traumatized by that until they found out that Ethos was an online platform that makes getting life insurance fast and easy, and that Frankie Felix had actually, even though we all made fun of him, he actually had Ethos, and they were happy. It's a trustworthy company that disrupts the traditional life insurance industry. As of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos, just like Frankie Felix, my cousin who was decapitated at a carnival. Get your free quote at ethos.com/TIM. That's ethos.com/JM. TIM. Application times may vary and rates may vary. And thank Frankie Felix's sacrifice, his head was knocked off his body in front of his children so that you could live your life. Thank you. This is what the Republican Party has become. I mean, it's like it's really insane. The Democrats will and should win the midterms, and hopefully, they should win the next election. If they can be sane. They may or may not. But if this isn't some kind of fuckery with this thing with the MIT and the dead in the storage shed, if this isn't something, if something dark isn't afoot, then I truly don't know what's going on. There used to be crimes that would have a little bit of, that would make some sense. And maybe this one will make sense. There used to be motives. Used to go, yeah, that guy, somebody was fucking his wife. He killed them. Not good, but you understood it in your mind. Now you just, again, it's Mad Libs. It's Mad Libs where you go MIT. You write it down. You go MIT, nuclear scientist. This guy's here, that guy there. If you talk about it, you sound like a conspiracy theorist. If you literally were to just tell somebody the actual facts of this, you would sound like a conspiracy theorist without mentioning any conspiracies, by the way. If you just said, there was a guy, he was a nuclear fusion scientist, MIT, crawling with spies, shot in his house. Then at Brown University, this girl got shot and then some other guy. Now they found the guy who did it because a homeless guy posted on Reddit, and then the FBI director decided to take a break from his girlfriend's tour schedule to try to arrest a guy who actually was another weird guy who knew this guy he shot. I think they knew each other. Let's find that article. They kind of knew each other. And he ended up killing himself in his storage facility in New Hampshire. If you were to just say that, you would sound like you were trying to say something else. But everything now is mask off. Everything is mask off. We're at the end of whatever this thing has been, whatever you want to call it. Democracy, oligarchy, an attempt at representative government. It is mask off. And all of the factions that I'm talking about are fighting for a peace and essentially the peace. And that includes the teal tech people, which is, Vance is, would have to eventually, I guess, make clear what exactly he feels about these people and, what exactly he thinks their role is in a government. They want an AI government. That's obvious. They want to get rid of people in all kinds of positions of power. They don't really believe in the government. That's a faction. The permanent war machine, that's a faction. The global open borders, free trade, protect trade routes, and, ports that are very aligned with the permanent war people, that faction, that's a group. That's a faction. The closed border, paleo-conservative, get ready to fight China, get out of the Middle East, anti-Israel, that's a faction. The pro-Israel people are a faction that care only about the Greater Israel Project and believe that the United States should be supporting Israel in everything it does. That's a faction. All of these people are factions. The Qataris are a faction. They're getting involved in the game, and they're saying, we want advocates in America. We want to give people money. All of these people are factions, and what they are fighting for is the last bit of meat on the carcass of this empire. This is absolutely what is quite obvious. Nobody is pretending anymore that it is anything other than that. That's exactly what it is. People know that in the next however many years, it is going to get pretty bad with AI, with climate, all of these things. And they need to figure out how they're going to ride all of that out and get to the next thing, whatever the next thing is. And they don't say it explicitly. They're not going to bring it up, but they do hint every now and then that there's going to be a next thing. They don't believe that democracies work. They think it's too corrupt. One side says it's the NGOs and the courts, the non-governmental organizations, and they have points. The other side says it is the, patriarchy, the prominence of white men in positions of power, the, stained history of our country, and that all these things need to be erased and replaced with a system where they have more power. It's just a fight till the end here. Slain MIT professor's physics career flourished as his suspected killers floundered. Claudio Neves Valente and Nuno Loureiro were once peers. Decades later, Valente is believed to have killed Loureiro days after a rampage at Brown University. So maybe this guy was settling a score. The two young men were peers, brilliant, aspiring scientists working toward a degree at Portugal's most prestigious engineering school, a white building at the top of a grassy plaza in Lisbon. A quarter century later, both were in the United States, but their paths had diverged radically. Nuno Loureiro was a physics professor at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, a beloved mentor who researched the behavior of plasmas. Claudio Neves Valente was living in Miami, his scientific career long discarded. On Monday, Valente hunted down Loureiro, authorities said, shooting him at the home he shared with his wife and 3 daughters near Boston. This sounds like a musical. This sounds like a fucking weird musical. These 2 Portuguese nuclear scientists? What the fuck's going on? What the fuck is going on? I grew up in a country where Americans used to kill each other over things like this. For Valente, it was the second act in a deadly rampage that began at Brown University 48 hours later when he burst into a lecture hall and opened fire, killing 2 undergraduates in an economics studies session. Valente subsequently killed himself in a storage unit in New Hampshire. Police said an autopsy conducted Friday by the New Hampshire Medical Examiner's Office concluded that Valente died Tuesday from a gunshot wound to the head. Investigators have not yet revealed a motive for the attacks, but both have links to Valente's long ago days as a student, first at the Instituto Superior Tecnico and then at Brown. At Brown, Valente targeted a building at the heart of the university's physics program. It's a place where he would have taken classes during his brief time enrolled. So maybe the guy had a total mental snap. In Loureiro's case, authorities believe the 2 men knew each other, and in 1995, both were enrolled in the physical and technological engineering program at Tecnico, as the school is known in Portugal. Nuno Moraes, a fellow Tecnico student at the time, said he knew both men. Valente was one of the best students in the class, highly competitive and driven. He showed no signs of having mental health struggles back when they were students. Loureiro, or whatever, I'm fucking all these names up, was also an excellent classmate, but more relaxed than Valente. He described both as friendly. Loureiro's slaying has shocked the scientific and engineering community in Portugal. Tragedies like this should make us think carefully about the mental health toll of a, quote, hyper-competitive culture. Okay. What? Like, again, sure, but is that what happened? Were they fucking back in the day? Does this guy hate this guy a lot? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Maybe the guy had a mental break. Yeah, I don't know. All right. I don't know. I don't know anymore, folks. Miriam Adelson pledges $250 million for a 3rd Trump term at a White House Hanukkah party. Well, finally, some good holiday cheer. Let's take a look. Miriam Adelson, friend of the show, with Donald Trump. The thing about Miriam Adelson that I like is there are people that are supervillains and conceal it. Miriam does not believe that is her journey. Miriam believes that her fashion sense should put out a supervillain vibe. And I believe everyone should have their own kind of style journey. And let's take a look here. This is, again, President Trump, Miriam Adelson. Here we go.
And now I met Alan Dershowitz, and he
Alan
said
Dershowitz.
the legal
Good.
thing about 4 more years. And I said, Alan, I agree with you. So we can do it. think about it.
Alan's
and I
here
would be,
someplace. Where's Alan?
Alan is here. Oh, he had a flight. Alan is here. Think about it.
Thank you.
Maybe I will be the first one who told you, or second. Yeah.
She said, think about it. I'll give you another 250.
I will give.
But her husband, Sheldon, was an amazing guy.
You know, they seem to be good friends. Here's the thing. She's trying to suck money out of the country to do a genocide. And he's kind of paying her back for investing in him after that January 6th thing. But here's what I see. Get that up again and just play it without volume. As I get older, as I'm 40 years old, you know, I could be disappointed about the genocide, or, you know, I could even be disappointed in him about, you know, selling America out, the insurrection, whatever. What I see, though, is a friendship. I actually see a good friendship, like a genuine friend. You know, as you get older, there's less and less people you can relate to, and they're both billionaires. You know, they're at the end of their lives, or maybe not, but it seems like it. I mean, they're older. And they've done a lot together. She helped him get elected. He helped her, you know, pulverize, you know, women and children and men. But here's the thing. There's a friendship here. It's kind of a real friendship. There's a great affection. You can tell by their body language. He respects her. She respects him. She's a tough operator. So is he. You know, that, you know, folks, it's what the goddamn whole thing's about. It really is. Let's take a break from the nonsense for a minute. That's what it's about. That's what your life is about, having a couple of buds. Having a couple of buds that you can look back and say, look what we did. You know, in 15 years when Gaza's some AI Miami and they're both long dead, but somebody's doing coke, you know, it's some rave, and they talk about these people, you know, there'll be a little statue of Trump down there. And there'll probably a statue of her, like, you know, Trump and Miriam. They'll talk about Trump and Miriam. They'll go, how did we do this? Go, didn't a bunch of people used to live here? And people will go, yeah, but it'll be like, you know? I'm like, yeah, people used to live here. They used to live in this whole thing, you know? And then they'll talk about these days, and they'll talk about the days before the Great War, you know, and, you know, they'll talk about the times before America was destroyed in a, you know, a world war. And they'll talk about Trump and Miriam and how they had the foresight to suck the money out of the country now before we defaulted on the dollar and before the Great War. You know, before we started losing our standing, before the dollar was no longer the reserve currency. They're going to say that Miriam, you know, at the very tail end of our empire, Miriam got the money out of Donald Trump, but she had to give him money to win it. She had to bet on him to get it. She had to make the bet to get it. And that, my friends, is friendship. Believing in each other is friendship. Believing in each other, knowing that, well, we got a few years left before this whole thing goes tits up. This thing's going tits up. Look at the economics. We got a problem here. But it doesn't matter. The people are becoming more nationalist. They're asking for food and health care. Gross. But in order to do that, because it works for a while, you know, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and fucking, you know, start a hedge fund, you pussy, or whatever, you know, whatever, that works for a while. And it's not working that much anymore. So Miriam knows 4 more years. She goes, let's get it all done. We can do it all. Alan Dershowitz, that pedophile's defender, who's also credibly been accused of pedophilia, allegedly, Alan Dershowitz, she goes, you know, he wrote a book about you doing another term. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. And, you know, you see them together when he gives her a hug and he gives her a kiss. They've pulled off something amazing when you think about it. Sure, we all suffer for it, and it hastens the destruction of our country, and it hollows us out financially and culturally, socially, many other ways. You know, and it'll come back to bite us when the refugees from the countries that they destabilize come back here and start randomly attacking us. But whatever. For a minute, let's think about a great friendship. A decades-long friendship between casino magnates who are tough operators and understand that the true way the world works is this. This is the true way the world, it's not Turning Point USA and the sparklers and the bullshit, the fucking karaoke sing-along they're doing. This is the way the world works. People like Miriam Adelson is how the world works, and probably how it is always going to work. You know what I mean? If Putin had dinner with that woman, he'd go, God, Miriam, relax. You know, I mean, she's a fucking tough, like, but she's got a beautiful friendship with our president. And if it's going to end, and if our country is going to be completely ruined, as I fix my hat, shouldn't it be for friendship? Shouldn't it be for two people who love each other and care about each other and believe in each other? Isn't that the great story? That's the great story that no one is telling here. Shapiro and Tucker, they're all arguing and fighting. But the real story is this friendship between billionaire psychopaths. It's the most American thing that you can do. Become a billionaire with money that people have given you because of crippling gambling addictions. Use that money to win an election. At that point, you start sucking money out of the treasury to, after you've genocided a bunch of people in the Middle East, then build, get this, more casinos on their graves. Folks, that right there is the Christmas story. It's about friendship. That's what it's about. So to Donald Trump and to Miriam Adelson, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and may you always find each other. You may not be in the same country, you may not be in the same city or the same room, but there'll be moments when Trump thinks about Miriam and Miriam thinks about Donald. And whoever goes first will speak of the other fondly, truly. And that is something that not everybody gets. Some people live their entire life without a great friendship, like a phenomenal friendship, you know? And when I look at these two, I say to myself, they've both experienced the joy of having an amazing friendship and supporting each other in times when they're both down. He's called an insurrectionist, a fascist. She's called a genocidal maniac, whatever. Just words, whatever. They always come back together. That's what makes it super special. R.I.P. Rob Reiner. Horrible end. Very sad thing. But he knew joy. He knew success. He had a great life. And he was invited to Conan's fucking party. Good night.